French fishermen have erupted claiming local fishing fleets are yet to receive a license to fish in restricted British waters. Fishing chiefs in Boulogne-sur-Mer have expressed disgust they have yet to be granted a license to fish in the UK's 12-mile zone. It is claimed by local fishing bosses in the Hauts-de-France region of France that they have only been granted access to 23 of the 110 regions boats are licensed to operate in the UK's zone. Étienne d'Achicourt, director of the Étaploise Maritime Cooperative, said, "We feel a disgust. It will be more than 3 months that we told them the same thing and nothing is moving. We are no longer credible." It comes just weeks after French politicians including French Minister of the Sea Annick Girardin and Mayor of Boulogne-sur-Mer Frédéric Cubillier sent a letter to the EU and UK governments asking for urgent action to be taken. The letter was also signed by Jean-François Rapin, regional councillor and senator of Pas-de-Calais, and Xavier Bertrand, president of the Hauts-de-France region. Ms. d'Achicourt added, "The 3 months have passed and we still do not have the quotas that we should normally have at the start of the year. So we cannot at all know how to orient the vessels for the rest of the year," but officials at the UK Single Issuing Authority, SIA, responsible for licensing said they began to issue licenses to allow EU fisheries to operate within 12 miles of the British coastline in late January 2021. A source added, applications are being looked into. 6:05 a.m. update, Coveney says EU must be flexible to end frustrations over Brexit deal amid NI violence. Politicians must do more than listen to concerns over the Brexit deal to defuse the tensions in Northern Ireland before somebody is killed, Simon Coveney has warned. 5:38 a.m. update, they've breached Brexit deal. Britons attack EU as UK expats lose jobs and bank accounts. Britons have reacted with fury over reports expats living in the EU are losing their jobs, homes and healthcare. Following Brexit, expats have claimed authorities in some states such as Italy, France and Spain are not adhering to the conditions agreed under the withdrawal agreement. With some barred from returning to their second homes or threatened with deportation, Express. Co.uk readers reacted with fury over the treatment of UK nationals abroad. One insisted the UK should have pushed for a no-deal Brexit due to the issues some expats have suffered abroad. 3:15 a.m. update, on right side of history. Brexit support leaps as disastrous EU shows true colors. Support for Brexit has increased amid the EU's shameful vaccine rollout. A new poll has shown, as a Leaver warned, the bloc has put the European project before the lives of citizens. As Brussels continues to come under fire from voters and European leaders over the debacle, a new YouGov survey has shown a jump in hindsight for backing Brexit. The UK's exit from the Club of Nations has been credited for its roaring success on the vaccine front. 2:20 a.m. update, Brexit, leave voters on right side of history as UK quietly sends Australia vaccine. Brexiteers were on the right side of history, and MEP has claimed following a secret shipment of coronavirus vaccines to Australia. In praise of the UK government, former Brexit Party MEP Martin Daubney claimed Britain's decision to leave the EU has been vindicated following the delivery of 700,000 vaccines to Australia. While the EU threatened to block exports, the UK sent a large vaccine stockpile to Australia in order to avoid any issues with the EU. Commenting on the move, Mr. Daubney said, "History will show that Brexit Britain was on the right side of history. Remember, the EU blockaded export of vaccines to Australia. The UK meanwhile, quietly exports 700,000 doses to our friends down under." 1:14 a.m. update, fury as UK expats in Europe refused jobs, bank accounts, healthcare, Brexit deal ignored. Britons living in some EU member states have been faced with Kafkaesque bureaucracy which has resulted in some being denied access to jobs, bank accounts and healthcare. This is despite their rights being guaranteed in theory by the withdrawal agreement Britain agreed with Brussels. Under its terms, Britons already living in Europe, and Europeans resident in Britain, were supposed to have their rights protected after Brexit. 12:06 a.m. update, it's on EU. Brussels weaponized Northern Ireland to punish UK for Brexit, says expert. The EU weaponized Northern Ireland during Brexit talks, resulting in this week's awful violence, one commentator has claimed. As clashes continue in Northern Ireland, commentator and historian Ruth Dudley Edwards claimed the EU had used the state to put maximum pressure on the UK to agree a Brexit deal. Although there were alternatives to the protocol, Ms. Dudley Edwards insisted Boris Johnson had been forced to accept a deal that impedes trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland due to his predecessor. Despite agreeing a deal, the commentator also warned Brussels had chosen to interpret the customs rules as strictly as possible to inflict maximum damage to the UK. Melanie Kaidan takes over live reporting from James Bickerton, 10:33 p.m. Update. Femi Olawole sparks backlash and furious radio clash after he blames violence on Brexiteers. Political commentator and pro-EU activist Femi Olawole blamed Brexiteers for the ongoing violence in Northern Ireland, sparking a furious on-air row with a former Brexit Party MEP. A furious political row erupted when pro-EU campaigner Femi Olawole blamed Brexiteers for the ongoing violence on the streets of Belfast. Former Brexit Party MEP Ben Habib slapped down Mr. Olawole for this remark, insisting the unrest is not because of Brexit. Talk radio host Patrick Christys echoed this argument, telling the pro-EU commentator that realistically this has nothing to do with Brexit. 9:36 p.m. Update. Andrew Neil in brutal dissection of EU as bloc ignored get-out-of-jail card after Brexit. Andrew Neil brutally dissected the EU's Brexit tactics as he explained how the bloc had a get-out-of-jail card but didn't appear to do anything with it. Andrew Neil is in the process of setting up GB News in a project that looks poised to rock Britain's broadcasting establishment. The former editor of the Sunday Times is one of the most highly regarded voices in the world of politics, and his analysis of the EU after Brexit will make for grim reading in Brussels. Addressing an audience at the Centre for Independent Studies, Mr. Neil called the rise of populism at the end of the last decade the most important political, democratic development of our time. 7:56 p.m. Update. Fury as EU orders AstraZeneca to hand over Dutch jabs, Boris told pull funding now. The EU has been hit by a furious backlash from Britons over its latest vaccine move, with some warning the UK is allowing the bloc to walk all over us by diverting vital jabs away from Britain. Brussels ordered AstraZeneca to hand over all vaccines made in the Netherlands despite the UK having a claim to the doses. Express.co.uk readers shot down the decision, with some likening to communism and even fascism. In comments, people unleashed their fury against the EU and some said Boris Johnson should resort to legal action. 6:35 p.m. Update. More like team failure. EU Commission savaged by Europeans over vaccine shambles. The European Commission's attempt to gloat about its effort in the procurement of vaccines for developing countries was met with humiliating responses on Twitter. The Commission posted a video on its Twitter account praising the bloc's efforts over the last year in the fight against coronavirus. The boasting social media post read, "The EU plus EU countries equals Team Europe. A year ago, we joined forces to help partner countries in the fight against COVID. Team Europe has supported over 130 countries worldwide and mobilized over €2.2 billion to COVAX." 4:53 p.m. Update. Expat warning. Expert tells Britons in EU to have paperwork in order or face chaos. UK expats living across the EU have been urged to have all their paperwork in order or face deportation threats and denials of health services. After Brexit, European citizens living in the UK have been urged to apply for the settlement scheme in order to be able to stay. Likewise, British citizens living on the continent have been warned not having the correct paperwork could prevent them to stay in their second homes abroad. Michael Lewers, director at WilliamRussell.com, warned, "The difficulties facing some British expats in registering as being resident in Spain illustrates just how important it is for people to have their paperwork in order post-Brexit." 3:15 p.m. Update, Merkel in crisis, German state breaks ranks and turns to Russia after vaccine fiasco. German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her Health Minister Jens Spahn are staging talks with Sputnik vaccine developers as the country grows frustrated with the EU's vaccine rollout. Germany is looking to join other European countries, like Serbia and Hungary, who use the Russian-developed Sputnik V vaccine. German ministers are growing frustrated at the slowness of the joint procurement agreement and are concerned Germany will not have a sufficient supply of the vaccine. However, the country is tied down by the European Medicines Agency, EMA, who still need to approve its use in the bloc, and by the EU, who have shown an unwillingness to work with Russia. 2 p.m. Update, EU spark fury. French farmers in revolt against bloc's agricultural plans, Brexit next. French farmers across the country protested against the EU's latest damaging plan to reform its Common Agricultural Policy (CAP), sparking calls for France to leave the bloc immediately. French farmers walled up the public finance center in Millau with tires on Thursday. Similar actions took place in front of the tax centers of a dozen towns in Aveyron to protest against the CAP, which provides for a reduction in aid. 1 p.m. Update, Eurostar crisis, SNP weighed in on Eurostar row as they demand direct links with Europe. SNP ministers have waded in on a Eurostar finance row and begged for direct rail links with Europe in a bid to boost Scottish tourism. Eurostar, which runs services between London St Pancras and Paris, Brussels and Amsterdam, is on the verge of bankruptcy and is currently in rescue talks with UK government officials. Eurostar has already faced a 95% fall in demand due to the COVID-19 pandemic, after carrying more than 11 million passengers in 2019. 12 p.m. Update, EU's own laws damaging bloc, Brussels at risk of losing health research leadership status. Brussels' own laws are putting the bloc at risk of losing its health research leadership status, experts have warned. A new study from 3 academy networks, the European Federation of Academies of Sciences and Humanities, the European Academies Science Advisory Council and the Federation of European Academies of Medicine, FEAM, found that the EU's status as a health research leader is at risk thanks to the bloc's own data protection laws. The report found, it has become apparent that implementation of the EU's General Data Protection Regulation has contributed to barriers in sharing health data with researchers outside the EU, EEA, European Economic Area. 11 a.m. Update, Brexit rules putting EU firms off working with UK counterparts, survey claims. The UK's services sector rebounded back into growth during March at the fastest rate in 7 months, following 4 months of contraction, according to new data. The closely followed IHS Markit (SIPS) Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) recorded a score of 56.3 last month, compared with 49.5 in February. Anything above 50 is seen as a sector in growth. Activity, new orders and employment were all up during March, with optimism hitting highs not seen since December 2006, as businesses prepare for large swaths of the sector reopening as part of the COVID-19 roadmap. But exports remained subdued, with respondents suggesting the issues over new post-Brexit rules are continuing to keep EU-based businesses away from working with British-based firms. 10 a.m. Update, PSNI rules out involvement of loyalist paramilitary groups in Brexit-related protests in NI. The PSNI has ruled out the involvement of loyalist paramilitary groups in orchestrating the violence seen in Northern Ireland in recent days. It follows a statement from the Loyalist Communities Council (LCC), an umbrella group representing the UVF, UDA and Red Hand Commando, that none of its groups were involved in rioting either directly or indirectly. On Thursday, Northern Ireland Assistant Chief Constable Jonathan Roberts said it was clear there was a degree of organisation to the violence. The violence is unfolding at a time of increasing rancor in the political sphere amid tensions over the post-Brexit Irish Sea trade border and the fallout from the police's handling of the mass Republican funeral that took place during pandemic restrictions last year. 9 a.m. update, EU Muppets. Bureaucrats accused of holding back vaccination drive after epic failure. The European Commission has been accused of trying to fob off its failures as EU countries start to see success in their vaccination rollouts. Critics have blamed Brussels for holding member states back by failing to secure enough coronavirus jabs early on in the crisis. It comes as Germany this week recorded 2 record-breaking days for the number of immunizations administered. But instead of shouldering the blame, EU vaccines czar Thierry Breton said the bloc was lagging behind Britain because suppliers had failed to deliver enough doses to member states. 8 a.m. update, Brexit-related costs should be clearer to customers, says which, the add-on costs when buying goods from EU-based retailers should be made clearer so that shoppers are not hit with surprise fees or scammed, according to which? 2/5, 42%, of people who ordered products online between the end of the Brexit transition period on January 1 and mid-February experienced some issues, a survey by the consumer group found. Delays were the most common issue experienced by those who ordered products online, but 1 in 10 people, 11%, were asked to pay additional handling or delivery fees.